Right, I believe we are live now, having been live for 5 seconds. I think, oh, Facebook is catching up with me on the left-hand side, so just bear with me a second. We're having a lot more technical success than we did yesterday. I'm not going to push play because otherwise the audio will confuse me a wee bit. But hello, Stephen. Oh, is it Steve or Stephen?
Oh, I don't know. When my mum was always crossing me, she called me Stephen. She still does. I don't know. Steve is fine. Absolutely.
Steve is fine. Okay, well, welcome to my very, very, very first live. Now, obviously, this is called Thursday Night Live, and it's all got a bit wrong this week with the very first episode. So we're going to nickname this Friday Night Live instead. But you're my very first guest speaker, so thank you very much for helping me and supporting me in my group.
I'm hugely honoured. I am.
It means a lot to me. So I know I can hear some feedback. Is that coming from your end? Or is that from mine?
No. I've got a USB camera mic thing, which is some way from the laptop.
Okay, so I'm actually talking back to myself, so I might have to concentrate on what's being said, so that's fine. Okay, so we crossed paths a wee while ago, virtually, in the line of digital technologies, because I think I was scrolling and surfing on LinkedIn, if I'm honest, and somewhere along the lines I came across this fabulous, oh, where's my camera? There you go, fabulous 15-point checklist.
It's a lot like mine. Look at that.
Look at that. Fancy us both having the same thing. Mine's got coffee stains on it, but that does show that it lives on my desk and is a useful tool and not being nicely shoved in a drawer somewhere. But yes, coffee stains as well. There we go. So, now from my perspective, I thought this was a fabulous little hit list because when I was at university, I didn't go to uni until I was 24, but they actually made me do a dyslexia test because they didn't realise, or I didn't realise, I actually read quite slowly and I wasn't getting quite through all my exams quite quickly enough. And ever since then, now that I've known that I have this ability to not spell properly and this, that and the other, I work really hard at it, but it doesn't mean to say I'm very good at it still. So I've got the gift of the gab, I can communicate, but what I can't do is write that the way that I should do. So when I came across this, to me, this is just what I need. And I thought a lot of people out there do struggle with these type of things. So I thought I'd invite you on today to sort of share your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Well, I don't know about the wisdom bit, but it's great to be here. Thank you very much, Angela.
That's okay. So I'll hand over to you. I'm going to drink my coffee. It's all yours.
Oh, well, where's my coffee then? I feel I've been left out. Okay, So we're going to talk a little bit about copywriting, aren't we, and why it matters. And the main focus really will be on copywriting for websites, although I do communications, or all kinds of communications for businesses. Yeah, copywriting I often refer to as the Cinderella of marketing because it's the aspect of marketing which is often overlooked, it's forgotten. You imagine you go to a garage showroom to buy a brand new flashy BMW and you hand over your cash and the salesman says, thank you very much. There's your lovely new car. Oh, by the way, you'll need to put an engine in it. You'd find that a little bit odd and you'd be fairly fed up. Well, this happens surprisingly and disturbingly often with web developers. I hope none are watching or I'll make them cross. Of course, the world is full of excellent web developers, but there are too many who disregard the value of content. They just want to get the lovely website signed off by the client and off they go. Of course, the design of the website, the look of it, the graphics are vital, particularly in that the first impression that it creates. But it's the copy, it's the words that do the heavy lifting. It's the words, the copy that will make the reader leap into action. It'll make them pick up the phone, send an email, make an inquiry. So I would love it if the one thing we achieve in the few minutes we have together this evening is to get across the idea that words really matter.
Well, I would like to weigh in on that point a little bit because you've kind of hit a nerve on the head a wee bit for me because I am a website designer. In fact, actually, I'm a website developer and there is a difference, but that's a discussion for another day. And one of the reasons that I think I like to think anyway, that I've always been quite good at verbally communicating is because my clients in the past would present me with their web copy for their websites, and I would look at this dribble and I would be thinking, oh God, this is my brand, this is my reputation, I want to use this as a showcase example of my worth as a website developer, and it's absolute pants. So what I would actually do, and what I ended up doing, is over the course of the 22 odd years that I worked in the freelance world, is I would rewrite often the copy, or at least give strong pointers back, so that it would become more of like a sales pitch for the products or services they were trying to promote. And then what I would generally do is say to my clients, I can't spell, watch my grammar, but the communication was there. So I completely and utterly 100% behind everything you've just said, because it's been one of my, I don't know, bugs to bear for years in the industry. And I think a lot of people just don't give the credibility to a tool, or part of the tool as being part of the package. And like you say, you know, it's like putting diesel in a petrol car. If you don't get the right tools, it's all going to go a little bit wrong. A bit like us all last night, and the wrong technology. But yeah, so I completely endorse everything that you've just said as well. So I will hand back over to you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the next thing, there are so many aspects to copywriting. The difficulty we have is that I just love language. I love words, and I love the power of words. I love what they can do, and I find this fascinating. There's a lot of psychology to it, of course. The way words use, how they trigger different parts of the brain. And there was one overarching thing that I like people to keep in their minds. And when you're sitting down and writing your web content, don't write, speak. It's really important. People think that being professional is writing in a particularly formal way, maybe with long words, long sentences. They think that makes them come across as professional. I'll tell you what professional is. Professional copywriting is copywriting that works. And copywriting that works is copywriting that engages people. So we should be writing copy as though we're having a relaxed conversation over a cup of coffee across the kitchen table. And that means writing in particular ways. For example, a big mistake people make when they're writing web copy is they avoid contractions. The contractions is where you contract is not to isn't, or we have to we've, or you will to you'll. There are many people who think it's unprofessional to use contractions. People speak in contractions, so we should use them when we're writing the web copy. So if you're whizzing through your web copy looking for revisions to make, that's the first one you can do. Uncontracted words are easy to spot. So every time you see a you will, change it to you'll. So instead of you will enjoy the benefits of our service, you'll enjoy the benefits of our service. It's all about writing in a relaxed conversational way. Do you want me to go on to point number 2? You're still awake, Angela.
I am. Look, I can't show you, but I've got notes. I'm writing my notes as we go. So yeah, I think that was point number 2, the contraction. So point number 3, I think.
Yes, I'm really just talking my way through things as they come to mind. A very good way to engage with your audience is as you would in a social conversation. If you're meeting someone for the first time, you'll ask them questions. If you're a socially functioning human being, you'll get to know them by asking them questions, not by standing there and telling them all about yourself and where you went for your summer holidays and what you like doing for a hobby. In a social setting, you'll ask people about themselves. So do the same with your web copy, particularly near the top of the home page. See if you can ask those questions in a way that address what marketers call the pain points. So, for example, let's say you're an optician and you're selling glasses and spectacles and contact lenses. How about asking a question that addresses the pain points, such as, are you struggling to find an affordable pair of glasses which make you look good? That's just an example off the top of my head. It's tied in with the age-old features and benefits thing. Far too many people who own a business are obsessed with how aspects of their business work, about the features of their business. Now, if you're buying a pair of glasses, you're not really interested if the frames are made of a titanium carbon fiber alloy that will last forever. You're not interested in the technical spec of the lenses. You're interested in a pair of glasses, A, which you can afford, and B will make you see well, and C will make you look good. So always think of the benefits and ask questions of your potential client that will address their pain points. They'll really feel that you're talking to them, because they've gone to your website because they've got a pain point. You know, they need a pair of glasses, or they need some marketing assistance, or they need some copywriting doing. You've got to think what's in their mind when they're looking for your services and address that.
Okay, so I've got some key points written down here right now. So the two big takeaways that you're suggesting with regards to asking questions is to really focus around the pain points that your customer or your client or target audience are suffering with, and use that as a way of leading into a conversation, because people are quite compelled to answer questions. You can't really ask someone a question and then not give a response because it's deemed rude. So that way you can provoke people into starting a conversation with you, I think is generally the point there as well. But you're using the terminology that people would use in an everyday conversation over coffee as opposed to formal structure. Yeah. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you put it so much better than I did. You should try the copywriter, Angela.
I said I got gifted the gap, well, I haven't got is the ability to write it. So there we go. So you're moving on. I think that kind of brings us in where it says you talk about using short words. Now, do explain that in layman terms to the likes of me.
I will explain it. We're very lucky in English, you know. We've got many more words than most languages have. And there's a very simple reason for this. English is made up of two essential roots. There's what's called the Romance root. It's the languages of Greek, Latin, Italian, Spanish, and French. The Southern European languages, a big influence in English. But we've got just as much influence from the Northern European languages, the Anglo-Saxon languages from Northern Europe and Scandinavia. And you can spot these because for almost every concept you can think of, there are at least two words. They mean the same thing, but they're completely different. And the good style, good writing style, whether you're writing a novel or a note to the milkman, whatever, the best style is to use a short word. That's the Anglo-Saxon word. And some examples. On so many websites, you see the word assist. We'll assist you. Not assist, say help. Words like remunerate, don't say remunerate, say pay. Words like, I'm lost now. Are you looking at my notes? I mean,
I am looking at, no, you've got help, start, send, and need as more engaging versions of assist, commence, dispatch, and require.
Sure. I mean, so many people talk about whatever you require. Don't say that. Say what you need. Don't say dispatch. Say send. You know, we will dispatch your parcel within 2 working days. Say we'll send it. You might think this is a small thing, but it really does matter. There's a very good book on writing by Stephen King, the horror writer. And the book's called How to Write. The first half of the book is an autobiography of his life from a little boy to where he is now, but in terms of writing. The second half of the book is How to Write. And he talks about this at great length, how using the shorter Anglo-Saxon word always communicates better. They're simply more conversational. If you want to appear remote and officious, you'll use that longer word. Like,
that'll be politicians then.
Absolutely they do, yeah.
I had absolutely no idea on that. So that is, I think, so far, out of all the things you've said so far, that to me is the big takeaway. And I'm looking down at my notes because I am scribbling all over as we go through this. So I think that's a really handy. And it must be honest with you as well, it's something that I've not really thought about in that sense before. Because also, I think when you go back to schooling, when you're back in your old, when you're like sort of 15, 16 and being told to write your CV for the first time and that nice covering letter, you're trying to sort of demonstrate a prowess, and that kind of sort of skill your English teacher sort of imposes upon you on how you're supposed to have written or wrote. See, this is what I'm talking about. My English is horrendous. I think that kind of then sort of sets a plateau to how you always work moving forwards. It's like one of the arguments I have with people. I write all over my books. Everybody's like, no. If you ever see me make a post about this on Facebook, people are like, you mustn't write on your books. The reason you don't write on school books is because they have to be used by other children. The reason you write on your own books is because you're leaving yourself notes and instructions and thoughts to yourself in the future when you read your own book.
Yeah, you and I are the only people in the universe that do this. I think when I read a book, I'm having a conversation with the book, and I scribble on it, I make marks on it, I bend over the corners. People say, oh, you mustn't do that. Yes, you should.
It's a tool. It's a tool as well. It's an asset of your business, just like you would use any other tool. I'm not going to be selling my books to other people. They're not going to do anything. If I don't use them, they'll end up collecting dust probably. But it's a strategy for myself to be able to help myself re-enter a mindset I was in the first time, because sometimes you need to kind of revisit scenarios, problems, whatever it is that you were looking at the book to get guidance from in the first place. Yes. And I think you should help yourself. So I just my personal take on things.
No, well, I agree with you. And in fact, the business about short words leads on easily to the next sentences. About sentences. It's the same background. People who are uneasy about their ability with English, they think, oh, I've got to come across as professional, and they hide behind long words and long sentences. They think, oh, long sentences will make me sound as though I really know what I'm talking about. It's the same argument. Long sentences will put your reader off. Long sentences which are convoluted and go on forever, they are simply one of the biggest turn-offs, because people get lost halfway through. They go back to thinking, what was he saying? And it's not a good idea to write in a whole series of short sentences, one after the other, because that will have the effect of beating the reader around the head. They'll feel punch drunk. But it's a question of developing, it's not that difficult, developing a sense of rhythm, maybe a couple of short ones, then a long one. You might, for example, write, if you're in marketing, we do websites, we shoot videos. What's more, we're also great at copywriting. I've just come up to the top of my head, but the third sentence is longer than the other two. So it's a question of developing a nice sense of rhythm. But long sentences, don't kid yourself, they make you sound professional. They don't.
I also think, and this is from me coming from like a sort of a visual website developer, if you ever get that like kind of letter that comes in the post and you open up, especially if it's like from, I don't know, HMRC or doctor's surgery, somewhere like that, and you open it and it's just text and you're like, oh, I'll look at it later. And it gives you that feeling because it's effort. And I think people are lazy, which is obviously why we are always encouraged to work with subheadings and the like. But I think that feeling, especially like email newsletters as well that I get, which we'll talk about on another I'll have you back to talk about email copywriting in the future.
Okay. But well, that would be good. You're absolutely right. If you're talking about formatting, I mean, we really should mention formatting, how the web page looks. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to read War and Peace, then you would expect to be faced with a page of a block of text. That's fine. You're expecting it. That's what reading a novel is all about. But if you're trying to communicate to a potential client via a web page, you've got to make that potential client, feel welcome. You've got to lay out that lovely welcome mat. If you invite someone around to your house, you're not going to sit them on an uncomfortable little stool. You're going to put them in your nicest armchair. You're going to give them a nice drink. You're going to make them feel at home and comfortable. That's what formatting the page is all about. You're going to make them feel welcome so they stay for a long time. You make them feel welcome by having nice, clear headings, nice, clear subheadings or strap lines, lots of spacing, plenty of paragraphs, bulleted lists. People love bulleted lists.
I like bulleted lists.
Love you if you use a bulleted list. If you find yourself writing a sentence that's maybe got 3 items in it, it'll be a bad example again, but we do this and we do this, and this. If 3 or more, make a little bullet list. They look pretty, they're welcoming, they're easy to read. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That's actually quite a good tip, because I have developed over the years a 7-point structure, as in like a template for writing sales script. And I think somewhere like number 4 is something I'm going to teach it sometime in the future. But I think I like bullet points is what I'm saying. So moving on now then. So we've got on here passive and active as well. So Technogrammar you've mentioned. Okay, this is going straight over my head now. So come on, give it to me straight.
All right, let's do. This is where I've got to not come over all school teacherish. Passive and active is not that difficult. Have you heard of the expression, the mat was sat on by the cat?
Yes.
Well, you're thinking, well, sort of, but that's not quite it. The mat was sat on by the cat. It's just on.
No, yeah.
It should be the cat sat on the mat.
Sat on the mat. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yes.
Writing in the passive is when you put the thing it was done to at the beginning. So the mat was sat on by the cat. The parcel was sent to you 2 days ago. So the object of the sentence, the thing it was done to, you find it at the beginning. And to try and explain how this is bad is if you're phoning up to complain about the late delivery of a parcel, you'll phone up and say, where's my parcel? I ordered it 2 weeks ago, it still hasn't arrived. In order to be defensive, in order to dissociate themselves from responsibility, the person at the other end of the phone will say something like, oh, well, your order was received on Tuesday and it was dispatched on Thursday. They don't say we received the order, we dispatched the order. It's a way of putting the palm up. It's a way of distancing yourself from the other person by writing in the passive voice. How am I doing, Angela? Have I made things worse?
I see what you've done there. I actually don't know how to answer.
Okay, right. I'll try and explain it another way. The thing is to put the subject, the thing that does the doing at the beginning. So we sent the parcel out last week, not the parcel was sent out. Right. Our whiskey, instead of saying our whiskey is distilled 3 times, say we distill our whiskey 3 times.
Okay.
So the thing that does the doing should be at the beginning. That's active.
Right.
If the thing is done to at the beginning, that's passive. Any better?
Yeah. I will. It's one of those things that I think personally, knowing my English abilities, I would probably be better off writing my sales script and working back through it as a sort of a corrective measure afterwards. Okay. Because I think I'm one of those that when I'm writing things, I need to get the thoughts down so that the actual flow of my message isn't lost, and then I do the correction afterwards.
There's a way to help you here. If you use Grammarly, or the brand new, mine was only uploaded a couple of days ago. You know, Office 365 is rebranded to Microsoft 365.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, and
wow.
I got a nice message from them, and there are lots of new features. They've got a new editing feature in 365, which to my mind rivals Grammarly. In fact, I'm hoping to review it over the weekend and do a blog about it. The nice thing about these tools like Grammarly and like Microsoft Editor is that they score the readability of what you've written, and they particularly look out for the passive voice. So with Grammarly, if you use passive, it'll tell you off and it'll illustrate what you should be doing.
Okay, so bringing that back into a website developer world, being my nature of my business, there is a tool or a plugin called Yoast SEO, and one of its tools and features is the readability. And I'm forever, you know, when you get a score saying, oh, that's passive, I don't actually get what it's saying. To me, it's just I need to write the copy, but now I'm kind of like the little light bulb moments going on for me. So that's quite handy as well.
Again, the passive it's something people do if they want to sound official and professional. They think it's somehow they're putting on a uniform and a smart cap if they say your parcel will be dispatched in 3 days. They're dissociating themselves from the action. Much better say we'll dispatch your parcel. Just try and remember, put the thing that's doing the doing at the beginning.
At the beginning, I have the note. Okay, so cliches, how to avoid them like the plague. Give us a cliche then. This hopefully isn't the same as metaphors, is it? Because I like expressing things with metaphors.
You've just given a cliche. The cliche is avoid cliches like the plague.
Okay.
That's a little joke there, you see, but it's
straight over my head. You can see why I'm a website developer.
No, doubtless you're an extraordinary website developer of ineffable talent. Yeah. Okay.
I'll buy you that drink later.
I feel sorry for cliches because cliches often started life as really original bits of language. If you're not used to Shakespeare and you go to a Shakespeare play, you'll you'll sit there thinking, there's a load of cliches. This is very, common language. It's almost overdone. But what a lot of people don't realize is there are so many phrases that Shakespeare wrote, which were original and brilliant and his, but they're so much loved. They're used every day in English. I mean, dead as a doornail, all's well that ends well, beggar's belief. There are hundreds of sayings that we might regard as cliches that began life as really original bits of language. Another one that Shakespeare didn't come up with is think outside the box. Now, whoever first thought of think outside the box, I think it's dead clever. I think it's really good. But if you use it now, you're shot down for using cliches. So I do feel a bit sorry for cliches, but try and look at what you've written, see if you can spot them, and try and avoid them. Instead of using the cliche, just say it in simple, straight language. So instead of writing, I mean, you said you're a web developer, you might put on your website, we're original, we're innovative, we think outside the box. Don't bother saying that. Just
no, because you're the same as everybody else as well.
Yes, I mean, everybody puts that. So you need to stand out by using simple, plain, engaging language. You don't need cliches.
Okay, so I've just clocked the time. We've been going for a wee while. We could do this for ages. I have a feeling, you and I. So it's probably a good job that we're doing this over the internet and not face to face. But moving on to point number 8, calls to actions, no ifs. Okay, so go and explain yourself on that one, because I think I know where you're going with this. So I want to see if I'm going to prove myself right.
Okay. This is another bee in my bonnet. Oh God, there's a cliche. Oh. Yes, ifs, calls to action are really important. These are where sometimes people just put on the bottom of their web page, but there are very good reasons why you could dot them all around your web page. A call to action is simply where you tell the reader to do something. It could be pick up the phone, place an order, send us an email. The point is, you do need to tell them. Far too many people think they're being polite, and they'll say, if you want to find out more, then please do not hesitate to get in touch. If you want to place an order, click here. What's all this use of the word if? As soon as you use the word if, you're suggesting there's some doubt. You're not quite sure. No, should you be placing an order? Shouldn't you be placing an order? Forget all that. Tell them, place an order.
That is exactly what I thought you was going to say, to be honest with you. But yes.
People, understandably, because not everybody's a copywriter, thank goodness, and they will put on their web page, if you want to find out more, please do not hesitate to. Forget the word if, because it suggests, it shows a lack of confidence. Be confident, tell people. It doesn't mean you're being over pushy, over salesy. You're just confident and tell people to do it. The other bit I hate is the second half there. If you want to find out more, please do not hesitate to. That's a cliche I hate. And almost everybody I meet confesses to using please do not hesitate to. You don't need to.
I think it's been ingrained or installed in us since such a long,
Just say, for a call to action might be, well, for SEO reasons, you might repeat the service you're promoting on that page in a sentence. So you might put, find out more about our social media programs, and then you'd put click here, read more, or send an email. But you wouldn't say, if you want to find out more, then do not hesitate to.
Okay.
Just tell them.
Just tell them straight. Okay. I've got actually a few other call to action pointers just from my own sort of sales background as well, things there as well. Don't give people choices or too many different calls to actions, because when you drive into a car park, this is what I generally explain to people as well. When you drive into a car park and the car park is empty, do you have that moment where you're like, oh, where do I park? And you kind of drive across the grid lines, as it were, sort of going nearish to your destination because you're trying to save yourself some walking distance. But if you park in a car park where there is literally only one space, it's a busy Saturday morning, you park where you park or you don't get parked. And I think that's the same concept that a lot of people need to adopt when it comes to call to actions. Don't give them this or that or the other. It's do this one action and that is going to be the outcome. And it's short, sharp and snappy. And I think people don't realise that choice is actually, it basically provokes sort of options, and you don't want people to have options. You want people to take action.
It provokes indecision, uncertainty.
That's the word I'm looking for.
I'm not going to be rude about him, but I'm going to talk very briefly about my dear dad, who's nearly 97. For that reason, I think he probably won't be watching this. At least I hope not. But he is a lovely man. He was a terrific salesman in the retail trade for many, many years. The reason he was good is that he was very good with people. He was a lovely man. Everybody loved being looked after by him in his shop. The trouble was he liked people too much, and he thought there was a virtue in giving masses of choice. So somebody would come into his shop to buy a lovely china mug, and he'd say, here's some lovely china mugs, and the customer would say, yep, I think I'm going to have this one. And my dad would say, just 1 minute, come upstairs, we've got some more up here. And he'd show them those. And it's because he's a lovely chap, he thought that there was a virtue in offering all this choice, when actually people are comfortable in making a decision, paying the money, and going out of the shop. Sorry, Dad.
It's all good.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so moving on to point number 9 then. We are talking here about where it says, who's it about? Is it about you, or is it about me? So I should imagine, without reading into too fine a detail here, this is going to be about your terminology and switching your sentences around. So,
well, it's about, I'm going to talk about another family member now. I'm going to talk about my daughter Hannah. And Hannah's a primary school teacher in Wellingborough, as is her husband. And about 5 years ago, Hannah and Nick burst into our house one Sunday afternoon in a state of tremendous excitement. And you can probably already guess why. Now, what they could have said was, oh, guess what? We're so excited. We're going to have a baby.
I knew that was coming, yeah.
Hannah said, guess what? You're going to be excited. You're going to be grandparents. And that was great copywriting, because she was talking about our feelings, how we would feel. And this is a great example. It's really important that when you write your web copy, that you write about your reader. We already touched on pain points. So many people begin at the top of their web page. We have been established since 1984. We provide this, we provide that, we or I. And there's no sense that they're writing to anybody in particular, apart from writing in the mirror, talking about themselves to themselves. The best word in copywriting is a little word called you, Y-O-U. And it's really important that you keep at the top of your mind who you're writing to. Yes,
that kind of leads
more about it, but you probably don't want it.
No. That's, I was going to say, I'm just looking at the time factor, because I did say to you it's only going to be about 15 minutes, but we are obviously liking a good old chat, you and I. But I was
the fish and chip van has been and gone now. We've missed it.
Oh. You're going to get fed later, it's fine. I was going to say that point about you and me, I think that also leads quite nicely into your point number 10 about making your point or getting to the punchline. Like, this is something that I'm actually really conscious of for myself at the moment in my YouTube videos, because I have so many thoughts running around in my head that sometimes I'm like, oh, that can feed into this part I'm talking about, and that feeds in. And I do when I'm watching back on my editing, and I don't realize I'm doing it in the moment. But when I go to edit it, I literally get so far through a sentence, and then I'm diverted because I've had a thought that kind of marriages in with the original concept. And I think sometimes, like I'm doing right now even, I'm not getting to the point quick enough. And so I think this would be quite a nice little strategy that you could share as well.
This is the point. It's a fairly subtle one, this one, but it's still important. Have you ever told a joke where you tell the punchline at the beginning? I think the answer is probably no. And yet when people are writing web copy, they often put the important bit at the beginning. Very often, we divide a sentence into two, and the call to action is a classic case. We might say, contact us today to find out more. That's a sentence split into two. Switch them round. To find out more, contact us today. The bit that you can't do without, the really important bit, should be at the end. The punchline should be the end of your sentence. There are many more examples I could give. If an accountant might say, you need to cut down on your overheads if you want to make a profit. switch it around. If you want to make a profit, cut down on your overheads. So the bit of the sentence you can't do without, the really important message bit has come at the end, that gives you much greater impact. Just as a joke where the punchline's at the end is considerably more effective than one where you do it at the beginning.
It's a bit like it does indeed. And I'm actually thinking of a non-business orientated environment here, but it's a bit like when you say to your children, don't run. But, you know, when they, or you know, don't run in front of the car or something like that. You need to be able to say things like car, you know, stop, stand still, or whatever, you know, and you switch it around. But we naturally don't think that way. So I think it's a skill that people actually have to learn to adopt. And it's quite bizarre because in my SEO travels in life through basically obviously blog articles, websites, and also with my YouTube videos at the moment, I'm actually reinforcing myself to write the keyword, which is the key point, as the first two words, and then I'm putting colon and then the message, because people are scrolling and they are basically looking for answers really quick to any of their problems or their challenges, and those keywords will actually jump out because they're at the beginning of the sentence, which is where we also naturally want to start reading from. So it makes a lot more sense putting it first. Okay, so moving on, so redundant words, what's this all about?
Oh, redundant words, we do it all the time in conversation. I'm sure I do it, but you really want to be writing web copy with great economy, like Ernest Hemingway was the great proponent of that. You don't want to be wasting a single word. When I'm writing copy of any kind, I think about every single word. I think, do I really need it? A few examples: a pair of twins. Being a pair of twins, just twins. Blue in color, just blue. Completely unique. What's completely doing there? Just unique. So redundant words are these words which serve no purpose at all, but we just say them out of habit. So when you're writing your copy, whether it's web copy or emails, whatever, try and get into the habit of thinking about every word. Everyone's busy these days. If you want to communicate, if you want to engage, you've got to be direct, you've got to be succinct, you've got to be concise.
Do you not think that sometimes people do that as a way of providing thought or time periods for thoughts to be collected? Because when we speak, we are often, like I'm doing right now, trying to sort of formalize what we're wanting to say in our minds before we can verbalize it. And I think
it might be the case. We call them crutch words, like and where we give ourselves time to think. But when you're writing copy, I would say that is unprofessional. You're assuming that your reader has got time to take in these redundant, unnecessary words. Always put yourself in the mind of the reader. Assume your reader is in a bit of a hurry. They're going to look at several other websites other than yours. You've got to really get your message across. You've really got to make them feel that you're the one. Don't waste their time with redundant words.
Okay, so sort of moving on then through this list of 15 top tips. The next two, I think we've actually already covered. We've already talked about formatting and spacing and white space, and that to me is something that I'm often talking to people about quite a lot with regards to their website copy. So, and we've also talked about when it comes to more than 3 key items in a sentence, instead of going and or comma, break it out, put it into a bullet point list. People can see what the information is quickly, and obviously they will then choose to read around that if there is information there that they're actually interested in. So sort of moving from that kind of brings us down to the last couple of points that you want to make on your hit list of web copy checklist here. Your point number 14 says insert links. Now give your visitors a good time, make their journey through your website easy, and if on one page of your website you refer to a service or another, take them there and insert a link. So I call this cross-pollination. It's also referred to as obviously internal linking as well as backlinking when you do it to sites when you take people outside of your environment. So just quickly kind of spread this through this from your perspective, because I would go quite technical here.
Okay. Now we all want Google to love our website, and Google looks at many factors, and you will know this, Angela. One thing it really looks at is how long people spend on a website. If people spend a long time on your website, Google will love your site. One way to encourage people to spend a long time on your website is to give them a good time. to give them a nice journey, literally a journey from one page to another. And one way to do this is with these internal links. So if you're referring on one page to a service on another page, you put a little link. But what Google particularly likes is how you make that link.
I was just going to add this as an extra, but you're going to cover it, I think. So you carry on, and I'll fill in the blanks if it's not, but carry on.
What you could do is to put read more or click here. But what Google really likes is if the text, the linky bit of text, the little blue bit, it's called anchor text. If the words in that anchor text are the same as the title of the page it's going to, Google will love that, because it shows your site has been really well structured, and it will give your website visitor a really nice, smooth journey from one page to the next. So use links to keep people on your site, and try and make that anchor text, the blue linking text, reflect the title of the page that it's going to. How did I do?
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I normally throw in, when I'm explaining that point to people that I've been working with websites for, I actually say to them, go and Google the words like read more or click here. Oh, hang on, my monitors have just gone off, so I hope you can still see me. There we go. And I actually go and say to them, go and do a search right now for the words read more, because it means absolutely nothing, but it's used so much through website copy that actually you will see the ranking of it. It's just ridiculous. It's nonsense. So people need to understand what they need to do is phrase the sentence to be able to put the link on the most, it's basically the names of objects, items, services, that kind of thing, because that is what people will go into Google and run a search on. So if they wanted to go and find out about how to write good copywriting for my website, the keywords there is copywriting for a website, and so that is where the link would need to run. So if I was to do a blog article, that's where I would put the link, and then obviously that would be an external link to yourself, and in that sense that would be a backlink from your perspective, but that's going probably into another topic for another day. But yes, you're quite right, it's what you link on, not just the fact that you are making the link exist. Now, yes, I think that kind of brings us down to the very last point, leaving the best to last. So please take it away.
Okay, well, the best to last, this is really my mantra. It's a quote attributed, although there's some argument about that, but it's attributed to the late author, songwriter, poet Maya Angelou. And Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And to me, this governs all my copywriting. I want to make a website copy, make the reader feel a certain way, feel that they've got to pick up the phone, feel that they've got to send an email or get in touch. It really is about how you make people feel, how they feel about the personality of the website. And I think it's a great saying, and it's one that is behind all the work I do. Okay.
I really don't have anything to add to that one, because I think that kind of itself sort of explains itself really. At the end of the day, you're writing copy as a tool and an asset of your business, and it needs to provoke action. And if you fail to get the copy, then you're failing in the next step, and that's where your sales funnel process comes through. So but obviously you're a copywriter in other areas, and I'm just looking at it from a web perspective. So I'm just going to quickly summarize to see if I've got a wee bit of a plan of attack here, because when I write copy, like I said to you, I generally follow a 7-step pattern, which I'm not going to talk about right now because I'm going to do as a video in its own right in due course. But I think one of the biggest takeaways that I've gained from getting my hands on this 15-point checklist of yours is that actually I will continue to write the way that I have been writing, but before I publish, I think it probably needs to go through like maybe a 2 or 3 stage audit process, whereby I literally go through this checklist and compare my written copy to your points, and then basically tweak, because I already do this with regards to the whole sentences with the U's and the I's and changing and flipping sentences. Sometimes you just need to get your thoughts out, and so obviously, and it is natural, we always come from our own perspective. So I already do that as a built-in strategy, where I will read a sentence that I've written and flip that on its head, as it were, so it comes from the reader's perspective. But I haven't.
You could send it to me, and I could charge an arm and a leg for rewriting it.
That's true. That's very true.
Probably best not.
Yeah, well, when I start to get a little bit more business, we'll probably go down that route at some point, because I'd rather get somebody else to do the writing half the time. Anyway, but I think that's generally the point of this, is that we can actually follow this as almost like a checklist of structures to go through and audit our work and sort of perfect it a little bit more. So sort of bringing it to an end today, how do people get in touch with you if they want to find more or do want to take up your services?
Okay, well, I have a website you'll be astonished to hear. It's called copywriterpro.co.uk. If they go on the homepage of Copywriter Pro, after about 10 seconds, it'll pop out, thing slides out, and if they click on it, they can get this same 15-point checklist that we've both been waving about. So you can get your own copy that way.
Is it .co.uk or .com?
It's .co.uk.
Okay. I hope I've got it right. I've just added it to the screen. Let me just pop it up there. There we go. Copy. Right. Okay.
Copywriter.co.uk.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you find out more about you, and obviously from there you've got your usual contact links, your social media links, that kind of thing. I am going to, I think, post this as well onto my YouTube, if that's okay. I will, because I think there's been a lot of meat here, and I think that will help yourself as well in due course. So I'm probably going to download this and send you a link in the next sort of couple of weeks. I've got a bit of a backlog of content that I'm still working through, but I think this has been a really valuable. I've learned loads, and I've absolutely loved having a chat with you. I think we could do some damage together in the same room, or if we was there to go through a drink together. I think we'd be burning each other's ears off all evening. But thank you very much for joining me on my very first ever, and I'm sorry about yesterday's little technical glitch, but it's been well worth the wait.
Well, Angela, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Everybody likes talking about themselves, don't they? that very opportunity to be the centre of attention. So thank you very much indeed. And I'm really looking forward to this Facebook group taking off, which it clearly is. I think it's a great
I hope so. It's a work in progress, but we have all got goals and places to aim for. So what I'm just going to do real quick, if I just bring up the events just to finish off today's video, just to highlight that next week we have got a lovely lady called Michaela Doyle, who's going to be talking us through how to work with virtual assistants, followed by Annette Ferguson, who the week after is going to be talking to us about different sort of financial or getting our heads around our business finances, as it were. And then at the moment, we've got a couple of others down further, about a month away as well. So I'm up to about 4 or 5 people now booked in, which is looking good for a group that's only a couple of weeks old. So thank you very much to everybody, and thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.